Hi, welcome to the new uh, Don and Ed show. And I think it's an important part. It is I, Ed the Pagan, along with Reverend Don, and we're going to be presenting to you. This is preview zero. We're going to give you some of the idea and get some back feedback. Talk to us. This is about to start a new conversation. Hi, Reverend Don.
Hello.
We're going to be back on air with another presentation. For those who don't know, we're kind of the pioneers and OG, as they call them, of the pagan media world. We started back in 1991 with our own Psychic Chicago Radio. It was the first radio show and been acknowledged by many sources that was pagan in content, and it was operated by pagan. We paid for it. We bought airtime. And Psychic Chicago went on for quite a while, changed the way it would work. We would go on to do magazines. Don has been involved. Let's go ahead and start here. Where did you start, Don, with and why should they listen to us today? But where did you start?
Well, in terms of pagan journalism, I started back in the 1980s in the pagan press. That was then a big thing. I won the Silver Salamander Award for Excellence in Pagan Journalism in 1986. Um, so I've been doing journalism of one kind or another for a long time. In those days, it was print journalism. We've done a lot of print journalism together. We've done a lot of video journalism, a lot of radio journalism, and it has been an interesting vantage point to watch the changes happening in the community.
And so your first magazine was Wheel of Hecate.
Yes, the first magazine that I put out was The Wheel of Hecate,
Hmm.
which was starting in 1987.
And also the first religious literature you put out was The Five Mystic Cigarettes by your mom.
Yes, yes. My mother wrote The Five Mystic Secrets a few years before that, and I and my late wife helped put it out.
And you did that by buying a Xerox machine.
Buying or renting, yeah.
But you went out and got a commercial.
It was a big 4 foot, 3 to 4 foot tall Xerox machine.
Hmm.
And what you would do is most commonly you'd rent them by the month. You could buy them. And yeah, we rented one and brought it home and we printed the magazines.
Hmm.
And we would
And a lot of
literally,
people at that time did it. Then you want,
well, yeah,
your
that
mom.
that was that was the primary way that pagan literature was made then. There were exceptions. There were a handful of magazines like Circle magazine that were printed in newspaper format, but they were the exception. Most were photocopied.
Right. And then you went on to, before the next step, really, you started out handing artwork to all of these circle.
Oh yes,
So
I,
you were
I,
once,
I illustrated for at least 90 different pagan magazines in the mid to late 1980s.
so you're one of the most published pagan artists, especially in black and white ink format and color ink.
Pretty, particularly in black and white pen and ink format, because that's what the pagan press used because of the way that it reproduced itself. Color art you couldn't really print at that time economically, so everything was black and white. And artwork in the pagan press was fairly hard to come by. So they were very happy to have a prolific artist supplying them with materials. And my work was in a lot of different magazines, but the ones that carried the most were the Unicorn from the Rowan Free Church, Panegyria from the Aquarian Tabernacle, Harvest, which was published on the East Coast, Silver Salamander, Seasonal Silver, the Crone Papers. Those were some of the ones that carried large amounts of my artwork.
You
And
were
then many
even in
others carried it
the,
occasionally.
and then you were also even in the Covenant of the Goddesses handbook at the Parliament of World Religions in 1993.
That's true. I had done artwork for the Covenant of the Goddess newsletter, and it showed up in their handbook at the Parliament, which was totally unexpected because I had no idea they were going to do that.
In a lot of ways, you became known as a clip artist, and you produced clip art sets.
In the 90s, I produced a number of clip art sets that anybody could buy and use.
And they're still available today in one form or
In
another
one
somewhere.
form or another, yeah.
Yeah.
Clip art is not what it used to be in terms of publications, but it's certainly still available.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, people don't forget that things were put by hand together.
Well, today people are doing their artwork with AI. In my day, we did it with a pen, and we cutting and pasting was literally cutting and pasting things together. I mean, you would cut out your artwork or your text block, and you would literally paste it onto the page, often with two-sided tape, and then you would take it out and photocopy it.
I remember rub-on letters.
Yes, that was a very common thing. You had the rub-on letters that you would do for fancy lettering. Some people could also do fancy lettering by hand. I used to specialize in that also, but in a more impressionistic sort of way. It was a very much more do-it-yourself era.
Um, and that also led your mom passed away.
My mother passed away in 1989, and
And
that
then you just,
disrupted a lot of projects that I was working on, and changed my life considerably because I moved to Chicago.
right. And that's where you'd eventually meet me. We'd
Yes,
meet you at psychic fairs. Um,
yes, I met you through Eleanor Royce, the Rolls Royce of psychics.
yes. That was quite something. And
It
in and out of
was.
that came our first magazine endeavor, which was Psychic Chicago magazine, which was distributed, which was really more pagan than psychic, but it was also about psychics.
And it
To kind of
featured the
begin that
comic strip,
operation.
the Psi Team.
The side team, oh yeah, and we did all sorts of things. It was a very contemporary, very pop focused to grow our base.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things it is. And then I would get into our first bigger project, or I would, is and that would be radio.
Hmm.
We rented an office. We were doing readings out of an office. Psychic Chicago was, we're attracting people at the time, and we would be wiped out. This office would be wiped out in less than in about a year after we opened it. But it was co-working. It was co-working for psychics. They could
Hmm.
rent a desk to do readings. They could just let us know they're going to do a reading. They could rent a desk. We had two desks available. We had a ritual room, and we had a receptionist. And you could,
Yeah.
as a member, you could come in and rent a desk, same
Hmm.
as any co-sharing. But this was in 1991, 92.
Yes.
And
And it was
and
on, what,
we
what was it, the eighth floor?
fourth.
Uh, the fourth floor of a bank building.
Hmm. And we had a great time, and it was good business until the 900 numbers really sucked away our business. Our readers went to the 900 lines, and they
Yes.
stopped renting from us. But in that process, we also started radio to start selling it. And I will still think Scott Smintek, as he's known, great guy, was my co-host and kind of collaborator in all this. He came to one of our meetings and he said, I wanted to buy, oh, I said, I've been thinking about buying radio time. And he says, don't buy radio time. They won't, it's expensive and they won't give you any good slots because you're psychics, you're weirdos. And I go, oh, okay. He says, what you should do for the same amount of money is buy your own radio show and they will rent you a radio show. And I go, what? It's called brokered radio. We might not be able to get a half a dozen commercials across daytime Polish radio. But I could take over, but you could take over the 11 to 12 o'clock time at $75 an hour
Yeah.
on the station. And we did.
Yeah.
And we
And in
became
those
one of
days, you
the,
actually had to go to the station
oh yeah,
and work in the little control room.
or have a studio in your house where you would send them the tape.
Yeah.
We did not. Because I remember that deal came with like 2 hours of radio hosting time, radio time. You could use the studios for like 2 hours a week for every hour you bought, plus the hour you were on live. Very different. And that was
Hmm.
Psychic Chicago Radio. It would last several years. Psychic Chicago Magazine would last several years. And we were very much into that media. And then we got caught up. We were one of the first e-groups on one group called Wellness, Daily Spell, which we sold today. all sorts of things. So we would get into newsletters, daily newsletters. Daily Goddess News became really globally famous.
Yes.
Back to radio, telepathic radio.
The,
Um,
the Daily Spell was went on for
mhm,
years and years and years.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
all kinds of stuff.
and we've continued in this process, and now we've done, Magic TV, Chicago, but in all of these things, Psychic Chicago. Let me go ahead and go through it. We did Psychic Chicago, the Daily Spell, Witch School will be the biggest projects that we did.
Yep.
In a lot of ways, Pagans Tonight Radio, followed in Magic TV. We actually got back on the radio before, we got back on video before we got back on the radio.
Yes.
Um, and we've continued today. We've done Pagan World Project, and we've continued being coming to the edge of broadcasting. And one of the things we think people need more than anything else is that people have been asking us more intense questions about the community. And I hate to say it, but we are the guys who now have the authority on this, along with several women that work with us. I mean,
Mm,
there are women who've been along this ride. I mean, you
of
want to know
course.
somebody who knows a lot of stuff? Laura Enright, for example, I think knows a ton of
Mm,
stuff. Diana Bucko. I think they know a ton of stuff. I think there's a lot of very intelligent older individuals who know
mm.
a lot of this stuff, but they just don't talk about it. They don't know how the world changes. We changed along with the world into the internet world and retained, in my belief, a lot of our own traditional practices and physicality.
Oh, yeah.
I think we did a good job with that. I think we continue to. But now I think we need to have a bigger conversation. The Pagan World Congress told me about that. And so this is our first deal to let you know we're going to talk about everything. Anything you want to talk to us. Um,
Well, we were talking about my days in the pagan press,
mhm.
and I can't tell you how many times in the intervening years that old knowledge of how to do everything by hand came in handy in the computer world. It was still good to know.
Mhm.
Um, and it's the same with the many things that we did in the 90s. Um, Technology has changed, but the things that are beneficial to know are still beneficial to know.
And I am. And the internet really formed part of our personalities.
Hmm.
So I'm known as Ed the Pagan. My story is really simple. In 95, I was caught doing talk radios between my transition, working in the Cosmic Candle Factory. And I would listen to all this new emerging, mostly right-wing radio, but they also had a local guy, Rokon Gary Meyer. A little bit right, but you know, no more than I was, or no more than a lot of things. I'm not by any extremist a bleeding heart liberal, but I'm not absolutely not an asshole. I do believe in things, and I consider myself, amongst other things, a moderate. But that's not important here. What's important was I would call on the show and defend pagan rights because no one was defending pagan rights or pagan ideology.
Hmm.
People would come in with this horrendous stuff, and I'd call in. About the third or fourth time, I go, "Oh, hi, Ed, it's you. We're hoping you called it." They go, "Oh, that's nice. So what should we call you?" I said, "Well, I'm Ed. Ed already." Go, ah, okay. And then Gary Meyer came on and says, "And in our caller, Ed the Pagan is on the air." One of our favorite callers, and we went on to talk. And that time was about the Christian ministers, legislators, wanting to move Saturday to Halloween permanently to be observed in the state of Illinois on Saturday.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
And so I became known as a pagan. I won that. I got that stopped. I got
Hmm.
several of the legislators stopping that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We'll
true.
talk about that story. That's because we didn't get it because we were pagan. Uh,
Well, a lot of things that
mhm.
we have either done or been involved in that were successful weren't necessarily successful because we were pagan, but because of other aspects we were able to bring to it or that were brought to it.
In this case, I have friends amongst the police. I mean, we were very good. We did public ritual. We had a really good relationship. And I just kind of not accidentally, just conversations. What do you think about this legislation? I'm trying to figure, I don't like it because it's, really taking our holiday away. And it
Hmm.
was. In hindsight, it was more outrage than necessity. But the principle was there.
Hmm.
And yeah, as I'm older, I would love to have it every Saturday. So yeah, last Saturday of the month, it would be so much easier on scheduling things like that. But that, he goes, oh no, I hope they don't do that. He goes, why? He says, Friday and Saturday Halloweens have a tremendously higher crime rate than any other Halloween.
Yep,
When I told him
totally
the law and
true.
bill, he goes, okay, great. And the police union stepped in, said,
Hmm.
I received this letter, Mr. Hubbard, da, 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 and we would like to talk against this. Just leave it as it is.
Hmm.
We can deal with the crime rate every once or two a year. Please don't make that permanent.
Absolutely.
And it got killed in committee. So in that case, we proved, and this is why I think what's important to us, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, is that we believe in relevance. It wasn't important to the policeman that there was a pagan holiday,
Yeah.
but it was important that he might have more crime on his hands.
Yep, that's true.
So you have to look at what people really want sometimes. And that's what we've done.
Mhm.
Well, and we talk about it. You're known as Reverend Don. You literally have to use Reverend Donald Lewis, and then sometimes just Reverend Don to get material about you. But if you put Donald Lewis in it, Google does not spit you up the same way.
No, there are lots of Don or Donald Lewises. There's only one. And there are even a couple of Reverend Don Lewises, but I will usually be at the top of that list. As long as you include Reverend, you will find me.
And how did you start using that? Because you growing up, people didn't tend to use Reverend with minister their titles. Hmm?
Well, pagan clergy have been using Reverend in some cases, at least back to the 1970s, maybe a little bit earlier. I started using it in the 1980s in association with being a psychic, because other psychics pointed out to me that this was good advertising. And I got a legal reverendship from the Universal Life Church and used it on my literature, not really for much else. Then in the 90s, um, we started using it a lot more, and it became much more part of my personality.
Right. It was also for the reason, and I think this is what I want to talk about. Our career has been based on one principle above
Hmm.
everything else. And you just mentioned it, you know,
Hmm.
acceptance. We have been, and we'll talk a little bit about this, the idea of we want to be relevant,
Hmm.
that we have moral reverence, more equivalence. That's the word I'm looking,
Yeah.
moral equivalence
Hmm.
as any other faith.
Yes. And everyone
And
understands what the term reverend stands for.
we started using it, and to this day, we still use it, and we spread it out
Hmm.
throughout the entire tradition.
Yeah.
And because does open doors, it does react to things. You'll find out that and it gave us something to be, it allowed us to be at certain tables.
Hmm.
Uh, so the big goal of our lives have been to be at tables that matter to our community, that matter to our tradition, and matter
Hmm.
to us in general. And Don have had a very duality, a lot of ways, very different type of relationship. We're kind of opposites. We're the twin opposites sometimes. And oftentimes I cared more about the big, broad arguments of paganism. Freedom of speech, getting groups registered, and Don much, much stronger made sure that the theology that we were practicing was legally protected.
Hmm.
My job was to protect the clergy, and Don's was to make sure that clergy knew how to protect itself.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's fairly true.
Yeah, I mean that sort of thing. And you'd
Yeah,
see me doing some of the big events, and
yeah.
then Don would be doing You see Don doing illustration, doing ritual, doing public ritual. You'd see this with his side of it, and me, you'd hear all about Ed's protesting again, or Ed's making sure the guardianship of the circles are right, or he's talking arguing about First Amendment rights.
Hmm.
And where we converged was in this idea of radio,
Hmm.
magazine, television, and so. And that's it. And that's why we got these unique names because they're media produced, not internally pagan. Nobody in the pagan community And the signal goes, Ed the Pagan, unless they're introducing me to a large group of people like at a festival. But nobody's going on, oh, Ed the Pagan. Well, occasionally now they've got to be better known. But none of my friends call me
Been
Ed the
known to
Pagan.
happen.
Huh?
Been known to happen.
And the same, but and I will say Reverend Don though is used considerably with you by many, many people,
Pretty much universally.
including people like the Archbishop of in Australia,
Hmm.
princes, leaders of the religions. To the point that our mission is simply to get on belong at tables where our conversation matters. It matters to us.
Hmm.
And you, along with Reverend Rain and Reverend Phoenix, got to stand on the main stage of the
At the
Parliament of World
Parliament of the World's
Religions.
Religions. Yes, we did.
So we are always trying to expand the tables that we serve. And at that parliament, we represented, depending on how you measured or looked at pagan and Wiccans, we represented between a third and a half of all of the registered of that. We had 60 people registered as a parliament.
Hmm.
Whereas in 93, when we started all this, it was me.
Yes.
Um, and
It
people
was,
had an
it's
argument that
just,
it was going to happen. Hmm?
yeah.
And we worked our way
People
through.
insisted the Parliament was not a real thing until about 2 weeks before it happened.
Hmm. And then I took over the city for a period of time
It was quite exciting.
and began really setting my career to go of creating tables. Pagan leadership conferences was the next set of tables. Okay. And when we can't, so here's what the other side of it, and this is where this show is going to be important. We need to start talking about the next step, where we could not be at the table for various reasons. We then knew we had to build our own table.
Hmm.
Everything we talked about was virtually had to build our own tables.
Yes.
What do I mean? We were told we were not going to get a show. No one's just going to simply give us a show back then, and
Hmm.
that even our commercial might be rejected.
Yeah.
So he said, well, here's how to buy a little bit of your own table,
Yes.
which is radio. Hmm? We didn't ask them for permission. We just asked them to sell it to us.
Yes. And they were willing to do that.
And that's something we learned really quick about media. Media is driven by
Hmm.
money. If you're willing to pay for it. So we would do that. Magazines. We got lucky. We got into the area of cheap Xerox machines.
Yes.
Did they turn down our money? There were some Xerox companies later, some of the Kinkos later that would reject some of the people's work, but they
Hmm.
never in Chicago rejected ours.
No, never.
And we were able to build a magazine.
Hmm.
$300 a month, maybe about $1,000 a month in today's cash terms. But my gosh, we were able to get a magazine out, a free
And what a
magazine.
magazine it was.
Magnificent. And we're going to be starting to sell reprints of these things. Telepathic radio, first experimentation in IRC radio, as well as back on the air and buying it.
Hmm.
One of the great things about social media, though, we realized we got a lot of this for free.
Yes.
Daily Spell, and we backed off on some of the radio stuff. We've gone back and forth, but we've always been there. We've been video. Again, we were trying to build our own platform,
Hmm.
but YouTube didn't stop us. We were one of the earliest members. We're one of the oldest accounts on there.
That's true.
So what we learned is that you have to create your own media.
Hmm.
There was a time when we fought tooth and nail to get into mainstream media. In the 90s, that's
Yeah.
what huh?
Yeah. And we
50
did
press,
get quite a bit of notice.
huh?
We did get quite a bit of notice.
We sent out over 50 press releases, front page of AOL, twice the front page of Tribune, front page of the
Hmm.
Chicago Sun-Times, front page of the USA Today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always about the conflict of us being in Hoopston. Most of it.
Quite a bit of it, although the Pagan Leadership Conference got quite a bit of
Oh, sure.
attention as
And of
well.
course, our crystal web, such as the first one of the first ones, was about the crystal web and the crystals we're
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
Chicago Tribune came out to Danville where we're planting crystals.
And in those days, a lot of pagans were afraid of the media and
Hmm.
afraid that if they were interviewed by a reporter, it would be a negative experience. But we had almost universally positive experience.
And then we turned that experience into interviewing our own. We went from being we are one of the first very trusted, and we still are to this day, extremely trusted organizations for radio, for television, for all of it.
Hmm.
And that's where I think we're going to start with talking about our show. What's next for us, the future? And basically, Don and Ed show is about me and Don. We're kind of retired. I'm not. I'm coming out of retirement, doing the Danville project and
Hmm.
Gaia Thrift because we still have to make money. We still have to make a living. We still have to develop revenue. And in fact, we've learned better how to run an organization of that nature than we ever have.
Oh, yes.
Experience through bad judgment and getting beaten on helps you get better instincts.
This is true.
Well, it is true. I mean,
It
they
is.
say, how do you get experience? By doing things. Oh, good. You do things and you fail. Well, you got
Yep.
experience now.
Well, it's true.
Hmm.
That I mean, they say that you should not regret your mistakes because they're your education.
Hmm. And I've been very fortunate in that the entrepreneurial society grew up alongside this.
Hmm.
I think I was one of the few entrepreneurial style leadership inside the pagan community. I believe that people want to be pagans. I think people want to be of the rights. And the thing that we made most possible, you through your teachings, through the way that you spoke, through the way it is. I mean, your third degree manual, the Correllianism third degree, has been rated as one of the finest books ever written for any temple head.
I appreciate that.
But it's true. Hmm?
Well, I was very, very careful to include
Hmm.
the more advanced ideas in the most accessible form that I could.
And right now, and I ask, so we have another really quirk. Don answers questions all the time. That's his favorite thing.
For 10
Literally
years,
has
I
books where
did,
he answers
yeah,
questions.
for 10
He's
years,
got,
I did Reverend Don's vlog, and we've made that into a series of books.
and people continue to ask you
Mhm.
questions.
And if you
And
follow our Facebook pages, you can see Reverend Don's vlog still being re-aired.
I have been called, as Don has done the thing on it, the most dangerous man in paganism because I ask all the questions.
Yes.
And I do. I ask almost daily, I ask a question, if not two or three. And I'm always seeking out to talk about the community.
Hmm.
And people always ask me, why do you ask these questions? I says, I'm curious about people. I'm curious how our community works. And I'm always trying to be supportive of them, not by leading them. I could have done that at any time.
Hmm.
I've tended to work with teams.
Yeah.
Um, and people would go, what? He says, well, you take all the credit. No, I don't take all the credit. But the way that our hierarchical system and our popularity system gives me a lot more credit and uh, for successes. And even more so failures. Oh yeah.
Hmm. Yes.
Uh, when I fail alone. When I succeed with a group.
Yes.
But I've had a more leadership style of being visionary and autonomous.
Hmm.
Um, whereas your career has been hierarchical.
Hmm.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
we were talking about this recently about how people, you know, aren't honest in our community about their structures. But as you said, you're completely transparent on your structures, and that because
Oh,
of it,
yeah.
you have a stronger structure. Would you go back to it? Because you have a Witton Council, you have a lot of things that,
Hmm.
even when there was a challenge over leadership, it succeeded.
Well, the Corellian tradition is definitely hierarchical and it's definitely a bureaucracy. And it's clear about all of that. I mean, it's laid out on the website, it's laid out in the bylaws, it's laid out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And even when it was still a tiny little familial tradition, it already had that character.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole life um, has been wrapped up in respecting that structure. And it would not have occurred to me when I was younger, um, until I saw it that other groups work very differently. But there are so many groups out there that will tell you how they're not hierarchical and everyone is equal and everyone has the same voice and everything until you disagree with them and then see what happens. You'll see how hierarchical they actually are. We're very clear from the start. Yes, we have a structure, but within that structure, we're very flexible. And well, there you go.
Well, and you can because you have rules that are set in place when there are disagreements. You have,
Well, that's the thing. We have rules of participation. We have set things that are clearly said. This is expected of you. This is something you cannot do. We have a judiciary order to deal with it if you do things you're not supposed to do. The Deemsters. Many, many years ago, Pete Pathfinder of the Aquarian Tabernacle remarked to me that most pagans totally misunderstood the criticism that people from other religions had of us. And the thing they really would have liked, that they really criticized us for not having, was any sort of judicature to hold people accountable. And we made it a point to create such a thing. And I think it's actually quite important.
it was so important that we've been used in court cases,
Hmm.
applying for credit unions.
We did do
We
that,
were
yeah.
involved, we were deeply involved, the Selena-led and Lady Liberty-led Veterans Pinnacle Choice.
Yeah, the Pinnacle Quest, yes.
We've gone many times where we've gone and helped people with marriages.
Hmm.
We've been, not only the authority of which that, but we also had to testify that we were legally allowed to marry people.
Yeah.
We've had that legal sort of structure. We've had people who, let's be honest, we've had people who've come out and been arrested for child abuse and even convicted of it that were members
Hmm.
of our clergy. And we removed them from our system, not
Yes, we
under
had a
a
system to
knee-jerk
deal with that.
response. Huh?
We had a system in place to deal with it.
Right. Um, Even the clash over leadership, we had a system for it. It was tested to its duration,
Oh, yes. But the
and
system
it
worked.
survived. Hmm?
Hmm.
A lot of the pagan community doesn't have that. I know that.
That's the benefit of structure, and a lot of the pagan community is terrified of structure.
Of course they are, because they come from it from toxic sources,
Hmm.
and they believe in the toxicity of it. So this is the idea of leadership, not only hierarchical, but also side by side. And you could leave it anytime you want. You can just, that
Hmm.
sort of thing. And so for us,
Absolutely.
the next step for me, and this is where why we're starting this radio show for a lot of reasons, is for me, it's a Danville project.
Hmm.
Let's talk about Danville, Illinois project. I'm fully committed to this.
Hmm.
John and I have talked about it. And what it is that Danville, Illinois is the hometown of the Correllian Church. And
Yeah.
I'm finally ready to retire. I'm ready to settle down. I've been across the country so many times. I haven't actually lived in a house, I think 30 something years, 40 years. I
Yeah.
rented
A house of
apartments.
your own.
Huh?
Yeah. A house of your own. Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived in other people's houses. I've not had a house of my own.
Hmm.
And my poor kids went through that. I mean, we had a little communal house. We had all sorts of systems. But
That's
now I
true.
want to settle down. I do. I
Hmm.
want to have, I need to write. I need to teach. I need to lead a movement. And
Hmm.
my goal is that in May 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2028 will be the Danville illustration. And by that point, we want to show the world
2029.
what?
2029.
Oh, 2029. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. 2028, I have, we're talking, uh, yeah, we're talking, we're
Yeah.
still talking. Oh, if you know us, you know me, you know who I'm talking to. Oh my gosh, so exciting. And
But
let's do the illustration next, huh?
The Danville illustration will be 2029.
And at that point, we want to have it in our own campus.
Hmm.
Whatever that means, we want to have it in our own campus, and I want to be settled in there. because at 2029, I will be 66 years old.
Yeah, but it's been the custom for some years now to have the lustration in Danville every fifth year.
Hmm.
The last one featured the investiture of the new first priesthood, which was a remarkable ceremony. But they're all remarkable ceremonies. Every illustration is its own individual thing. They're all memorable. They're all different. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Whatever temple is hosting is allowed to do what they want as long as they do the lustration ritual on Sunday.
hmm yeah,
And
and
if you ever
and
want to see those,
there
we
are
have.
a few other things that happen, but yeah, pretty much.
Hmm. And so the other thing we need, so we know, and then Nashville's next year.
Uh, Next year is Nashville. Yes.
And more to come about the illustrations. But what it is that we in Danville have got to settle down. So we have Guy of Thrift, which is going to come back. I'm doing a lot of research. I'm doing a lot of supply lining. I'm doing fundraising. We're going to start
hmm
talking about fundraising. Um, and then with that, we're also going to try to get involved in the community, start looking at houses, start looking at seed care, um, food, seed care, whole 9 yards. They're trying to bring in a community and not to try to bring in the whole world into the community, but just trying to get a community that can communicate to the whole world. Developers can live there, people can visit, because people want to have much more permanent things to do. The one thing I'm hearing in all my questions, what I'm asking is that people miss doing local things.
hmm
And so it's very interesting that we, who started out being very, very local, Danville, Chicago, Kankakee,
hmm
Niles for a while. I mean, we've had these sort of Evanston,
hmm
Illinois. All this is in Illinois.
Yes.
A little bit in Lafayette, Hammond. We went from that world until it went all around the world.
Yes.
I mean, we used to have a march. 186 countries have visited our site. Um, Daily Spell, radio shows, and things of that nature. So we went out to global. And in that process of us going global, we knew there was a problem. There were not enough local groups.
hmm
Now we're closing full circle of the reason why we started the online ministries.
hmm
And that is to get enough local groups together. The online ministries was to be the tools used to get people trained, to get
hmm
people confident, to get people resources so they can open their own temples.
Yes.
And that we've done that. And now we want to close that by having a headquarters for our tradition, a place with a permanent library, a permanent university, a permanent place to learn. Because did you know universities outlast even empires?
Well, that's true.
Hmm. And that we can live our lives within this sort of community. And there's a lot to be advanced. We'll talk more about that. But we're going to be back with more stuff. We're going to interview people. We're going to talk about pagan books. We want to talk about pagan community. We don't want to be telling you what Appalachian magic is. We
There are
will
other
tell
people
you
who
in
are
our
better at
shows.
that.
Huh? We do. And we will tell you who is better than that. Our show, you can ask us questions. We'll have people, books,
hmm
and authors. So we're going to help you guide your way into the pagan community. You want to be a pagan community? We're not going to tell you how. We're going to tell you who and why.
Yes,
And because we are saturated in how, which is the opposite of where we started.
that's true.
And so that abundance feels really good.
Yes,
It does.
it does.
I feel that we had some point to it. Um, and now we want to begin and have the next conversation. Not so much with the baby boomers. They're pretty set. They have their solidarity movements. They have the Covenant of the Goddess, which is still continuing. I just saw Covenant of the Goddess is making another outreach out to their older members. They're trying to rebuild themselves a little bit. A Lady Liberty League is coming out. Selena,
hmm
subscribe to her. Wild Hunt, I just can't speak more about it, but we'll talk about all of this and what you should be paying attention to so that you can still have your independence, still have your path, but you can know that you're supported in some ways and that you can find resources you need and just find out some really cool people to hang out with.
Yes.
So Any last thoughts, Don?
Well, join us for all of that.
Terrific. And my last thoughts is ask questions. They're hiding things. And the thing they might be hiding most is how you can be happier. Blessed be, and we'll be back again with the Don and Ed show.
Blessed be.